All right, everybody, welcome back to the Unlocked podcast. Kind of a new podcast. I don't know. We just had to evacuate my building. Apparently, the sauna had too many coals dumped in it and got a little steamy.
You know what I was thinking about? That show that Jerry Seinfeld used to do, comedians in cars getting coffee.
Yeah,
this is locksmiths in cars
selling doorknobs.
Yeah. Trying to pretend they know how to sell doorknobs. Yeah, this is wonderful. We are, for those that don't know, this is the Unlocked podcast. We are three business owners from around the globe, and we are sharing our tips and tricks. And today, going to continue talking a little bit about sales strategy, pricing strategy, and might get into a little bit of a debate here. So we'll see.
Yep. You are a little sparky, Tone, but
Tony's been sparky all day.
Just sitting there.
It's not good to be sparky in a building that has a gas leak.
That is true. You could have ignited, Tone.
Yeah. Thank goodness I'm very flexible and adaptable, and here we are. So,
yeah, just sitting there sweating in your car in a parking lot in rural Minnesota.
Here's one
sauna to another sauna.
This is what we do for the community.
That's what I was going to say. Tony is the commitment that we have to the Unlocked podcast. Tony's going to sit in his car and record a conversation.
Yeah, and why I want to record a conversation with you guys while I'm uncomfortable in a car, I do not know. But, I'm here for the listeners.
That's the sparky we're talking about, Tone.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's that could have ignited that whole building. You were lucky you got out of there. Well, I'm excited. I know we got a little spice coming. So, let's get at this.
We were just discussing around understanding kind of that competitive advantage. Really leaning into that. And when you go into any type of a sales conversation, if you're not presenting your competitive advantage, whether that's your response time, if that's something unique about your company's offerings or whatever, if you're not getting that into the initial conversation, then you're probably setting yourself at a disadvantage if a customer comes back to you and says, here, I've gotten multiple bids and your price is mid to high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, I think that ties into maybe my next trick or tip. I'm not sure what number we're on here, Tone. Maybe you were counting while you were evacuating your building.
I've given up on the tips and tricks idea, and we're just going into banter around value.
Okay. That's a good name for a podcast, the banter about value. But so my number 3 banter would be, a strategy I use a lot is acting as a third-party consultant. So I was actually reading the book, Never Split the Difference, is what kind of framed this and highlighted it for me. One of the tricks that they use and they talk about, or a strategy, I should say, not a trick, is positioning yourself as an independent third party. So there's a problem, there's a person, okay, you have a customer, and their problem is they're trying to spend less or get more value for what they're spending, right? That's, again, their job. So, I generally will position myself as that consultant. It's a little bit of framework you're going to get from StoryBrand as well, but being their guide. Okay, I too want to get you the most value for the money that you're spending, right? And the most benefit for the money you're spending. So, I've used this line so many times that I don't care if you buy widget A, widget B, the black one, the yellow one. It doesn't matter to me. As long as you buy it from us. That's all I care about. So if you're trying to decide between these products, I'm going to help you decide which one to go with, because that's my job. I'm the expert, and I'm here to help you. So once you do that, because Chad, while Tony was evacuating, we were talking about that, price is part of the conversation, but really it's usually price in relation to other factors like trust, reliability, that communication fits in there. Like, it's a variety. So, we start focusing on what are the values of one thing versus another as kind of an independent third party to help them find the best solution for them. And positioning yourself as that guide, that person that is there to help. And I found that to be really, really successful, because it does come from, you talked about it is coming from a place of right. Like I'm literally trying to help them save money relative to the solution they're getting.
Mhm.
So, and I'm honestly trying to help. So that it kind of ties into a few things we've talked about, but that if you can get yourself in a mindset as you're there just as a expert or a guide to help them make a decision, when you can build that relationship, that's that moves into the validation of price rather than comparing, as you mentioned, Jeff.
Yeah, you said something
I remember
earlier regarding the budget question. I think actually helped me a little bit. I've always thought about, like, what is your budget, as more so trying to figure out, okay, how much are they willing to spend, which is obviously what a budget is. But I think it can also be a sales tool to know what in their mind are they looking to spend. You kind of touched on that a little bit ago. Because if someone does answer with $1,000, now you know that they just have no idea what this actually costs, and you can start talking about the features and benefits of what you provide. And it gives you a good baseline to kind of be that guide and that consultant, to help them understand why what you're providing them is going to pay for itself in other ways. But if you don't know what they're thinking about spending, you don't really know how to tie that conversation to. I was listening to a podcast this weekend that kind of talked about, it wasn't talking about price comparison, but it was talking about, like, state what someone might have an issue with first, and then go into your but statement. So it was talking about Eminem, and it was talking about how, like, his rap battles, he would talk about all his flaws, because then people couldn't poke fun at his flaws. And one of my ideas with that is, and I don't know if this would work, but you could literally talk about, we might be more expensive than other people you are competing against, but we do all of these things. And it kind of puts that out on the floor. Like, we know we're more expensive, but
and
as
this
a
is why.
result, and this is why, and this is what you're going to get because of it. And asking that budget question can help you get in front of that a little bit. Well, you're thinking you're only going to spend $1,000, but this is going to be more expensive than that, but this is what you're going to get because of it. Do you think that's something that you have flexibility in your budget for or not? And so knowing what you have to work with just helps in that conversation of being information gathering.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to carry on with that, because you could, as long as you're not doing it in a demeaning way.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, as a kid, we were car shopping, and my parents were looking at a particular car, and they were trying to stay within a certain amount. And I remember this car salesman came back and said, "Oh, if that's how much you're willing to spend, I have this basically Pinto. I don't remember what it was, but some piece of junk car. I can get you in for that price. So if that's your budget, here's this piece of junk that you can have." And I mean, how'd
that go over?
It's probably 35 years ago, right? And I still remember it, because it was like, wow, what a jerk move. Instead of going, okay, here's how we can work towards that, or here's the reason why this car is this price. He just said, "Oh, well, here's a piece of junk that you can afford, and this is kind of in your price point." And so, it's like, wow, okay, thanks. So I think when you're presenting those offerings, it's less of demeaning the other companies or the competition out there. It's just really leaning in and being confident in what you bring to the table, what your company brings to the table, and the longevity around this product, especially when you're talking systems. Years ago, when I was out doing sales, one of the things I would always leave people with is, if you do not, especially on the access control side or cameras, I'd say, if you don't choose to not go with us, the only thing that I would please ask you to do is choose something that is cloud-based, that is not software-based, that you have to load on a computer. And if you find a better one with another company, then that's awesome, and I really hope you do that. But that's the only thing I would suggest is, when you're talking to other companies, please make sure that it is a cloud-based system that gives you these types of features, and that it's not local software-based. And I got a lot of good response from that, because that was literally just giving them a quality piece of advice. It wasn't saying we're the only company that sells cloud software and blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to lock them into it. I was just saying, of all the experiences that we've had, here's one that you should steer clear of. And there's other ones out there. So this is why we believe this one's the best. But when you make that decision,
Yeah.
just please make sure that's one of the decisions you make.
That's that third party consultant.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
That's establishing yourself as the expert and coming from a place of, kindness and being of right. You are doing it genuinely to help someone. Something you said, and I didn't want to cut you off because you're on a roll there, but there's a tiny piece we're overlooking here, and it's an opportunity for people to probably do a little reflection here. We are talking about the value that our company brings relative to the price. So Tony keeps saying, we might be more expensive, but this. And I would say, yeah, we're going to be more expensive, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That moment right there, you should pause and think about, what is your why? Why are you? Because if you don't know what your competitive advantage is, or what your niche is, or what offsets and justifies the cost that you are, because it could be, we're actually going to be cheaper, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if this is a moment where you should stop and be thinking, okay, what is our why? And if you have challenge trying to figure out what that is, I bet your team does.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you your salespeople do. I bet you everyone does. So it's, for me, it was just one of those moments. I'm now thinking, I can explain our why. I wonder if everyone on my team can. So I have a takeaway now, is I got to make sure everyone knows this.
Yep. Another thing that I've found too, and this might be in the tip and trick category, is establishing once you understand what a good why is, or what your added benefits are, figure out ways to showcase it and highlight it. And I'll give you an example of how we do that in our organization. So you both have been to our office here in our location, and
no gas leaks. I've been there.
Yeah, we do our best to minimize gas leaks, but we are very intentional, I'll use that word, around our facility, the way it's designed, the way it's set up, and we give facility tours to our customers regularly. Mm-hmm. So we will make it a point to have our sales team bring in customers new and existing, and have a lunch and learn in our office. So the lunch and learn would consist of us explaining to them our QR code system and our work order management system, and what basically we're providing them as an added benefit, where they can see what's going on inside of their service request.
Right.
As part of that, we also give them a tour of the facility, show them the products that we have in stock, show them our where we meet, introduce them to our customer service, introduce them to sales, introduce them to purchasing, and we show them our training facility that we've dedicated space for training, right?
Yep.
And now we have effectively just shown them a complete behind the scenes. So how many times do they get to go in any of their vendors, if it's an HVAC or an electrician or plumber or whatever, and get behind the doors and be able to see everything behind their facility? Well, one, that establishes trust with them. It also brings validity to the fact that we are a legitimate, locally operated operation.
Yeah.
You have met every single person that you're going to be interacting with, and when there's a problem, here's how we solve it. Again, when you're comparing that to another vendor, it literally levels it up, because if that other vendor, maybe it's a complete mobile lock shop because they haven't gotten to the point of having a business or a facility, well, that's a differentiator for us. We didn't say, hey, look at us because we have a facility and they don't. But they have a natural understanding. And I'll tell you this: we have sold so many different doors and frames, and we've sold camera systems strictly not because we have given a sales pitch, but because we have walked them through our facility and they've seen doors and frames sitting back in the staging area, and they've seen our camera systems, and they go, "Oh,
you guys do that?" Yeah.
And it sticks in their mind significantly more for future requests. So that was just a tip and trick. If you have somewhere that you can showcase the work that you've done, and maybe you are a mobile-only facility, maybe you have one of your biggest customers that you work with, and they have a space that you can meet in or visit, and you can bring other customers there. That is a huge asset and benefit, because it's that show and tell aspect.
And builds that personal relationship, humanizes it, right? Everything you're talking about is really, meeting each other in person. If you can, if with your customer service team, it's like, oh, yeah, that's who I talk to on the phone every day, or I email every day, right? It makes it a human relationship, and relationship is what drives virtually everything.
Yep. So one additional thing that I want to toss in there, because I think this is really impactful to the part of the conversation we're having. We had a customer within the last 6 months that approached us and wanted us to give them a 3-year contract for basically locked-in service rates.
Right.
And that's been something we have shied away from. We're trying to limit it down to a year, 3 year. There's a whole stuff that we can unpack there, but 3 years is kind of chaotic. And so we were chatting about it back and forth within the sales team, because they were the ones that were responsible for trying to close this deal. And the thought came up, why don't we bring them in and talk to them, bring them to our facility, give them a facility tour, and give them a presentation on our complete offerings, because we went back and looked at the data and saw that we historically only did one of our 5 service offerings for them.
Right.
So we brought them in, they gave them a presentation, they walked them through the facility, gave them a tour, all that stuff. And the crazy thing that happened is they came in and wanted us to give a reduction on rates. Was the original request was a reduction on rates on a 3-year term. They left with a 1-year term is what they agreed with, and they actually opened up to 2 or 3 other service lines that we have, because we were able to show them what we did. So one, it created some validity around what we were charging, and then showed them that we could do additional things for them to have it through one service provider. So it's a real example within the last 6 months that happened, to kind of the point I'm talking about, from showcasing what's different about you, where it started at price and ended in offering.
Yeah. I do have one last thing. I know we're probably getting a little long in the tooth here, but I'm not sure exactly how long this has been with the gas leak in the middle of this episode. But
I don't know, but hopefully Tony is he's baking in his car right now.
He is. This is another good time to pop on YouTube just to see Tony squished in his car with his laptop on his knees
and the truck moving around behind him,
and the quality of of content you get every week on the Unlock podcast. The
truck is still there.
The beast
Still back there.
Okay, that's good, Tone. The last thing we've talked about this, when it comes to understanding the categories and price sensitivity. Economics talks about elasticity of price. I know, Chad, you're a big advocate. You love service calls. You love breaking out that line and having service call right on the invoice. That's a big, that's a joke, everyone. And labor rates and hardware rates.
Yep.
Right. And then when you're within hardware, you can look at hardware, electronics. You can do mechanical hardware. You can do parts. You can do keys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so we're talking about pricing transparency. Is that what we're navigating to?
No, I am talking about there are different sensitivities to different categories of what you sell. So people, number one, will hate service calls. A service call, that is the traditional way of building revenue in our industry. We like to say, okay, our service call is $100. And that's immediately saying to someone, for us just to show up, it's $100. And lots of people get that reaction. They're like, so you're not doing anything and it's already going to cost me $100. That's what we're saying with the service call. So huge sensitivity to price with service call, right? There are businesses out there that just say lowest service call in the industry. And that drives a lot of purchasing. Second is labor rates. You will get more complaints about your labor rate being too high than anything else. And the labor rate traditionally in our industry, it's hilarious because, okay, our labor rate is $50 an hour, but we charge 3 hours of labor on every job.
Right.
because it's a relative term, and that's where you can be sneaky with marketing, and lots of companies will do that. And like we had a door company, contract hardware, different kind of planet. Labor rates were only $85. And I thought, that's so cheap. Oh, but it was a minimum of 2 hours labor.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they were only there 15 minutes,
Mhm.
it was still $170, right? But I guess my point here is labor rate people are very sensitive to. So if you're advertising this stuff, you got this on your website, when people are asking your labor rate, it is for you to just say the labor rate without any context, you will get negative feedback, negative publicity, negative emotion from that. The one that, and I think all three of us are aligned with this, the one that rarely gets any idea or context, it's very hard, is hardware pricing. So I know our strategy is we've focused on making higher margins on hardware because it is the one that's more inelastic to price. Simply meaning, how much, if we polled the audience here, maybe not our audience, but polled the general public and said, how much is a grade 2 ANSI standard storeroom lever set?
Yeah.
Right. The answer would be, or easy,
Lever set.
how much is a key? How much is key? Some people say $2, some people
They're
say
all over the
$20.
place, yeah.
They
Yeah,
have
it's
no
relative.
idea. And that, because of that, there's less sensitivity to that price.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a company out there that has a posted service call and a posted labor rate, that is something you got to be very careful about, and something you should probably consider. That is likely garnishing a lot of negative emotion to your brand, no matter what it is.
Well, on top of that, hourly rates, and you're talking about if that's what you're referring to with labor rates, so the amount you charge per hour of work.
Yes.
If that's the way that you bill things, it is a very subjective pricing mechanism that really can create a distrust with customer relationships, because it's a lever that you can pull that a customer doesn't have any relative understanding of. Right. This was complicated, so it took 4 hours. Or, well, I had to do this and that and the other, so I had to charge you 3 hours or charge you an extra hour for it. And the customer's like, what? It doesn't correlate a level of trust. That's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of flat rates, because there's customer protection in there. There's company predictability, because it's not a calculable hourly rate. Like an hourly rate is something that everybody will contest and negotiate on. That's part of where they operate. Mm-hmm. But if you've got flat rates that are predetermined, then this is how much it costs to do this particular task, regardless if it takes 45 minutes or 4 hours. And that really can create a higher level of trust with customers. But when you're a subjective hourly rate, it does cause kind of some confusion.
So, Lars, you mentioned price elasticity. What is your thoughts on, are you providing line item pricing on your quotes to everybody?
Install price.
Are you showing that price? Are you showing, this is what this widget costs, this is what that widget costs? What are your thoughts on being, extremely transparent on what each item is costing, or do you focus on project summary pricing?
So I want everyone listening to make sure they understand that Tony just stuck his big finger in Chad's side, and Chad is really not happy about this. So this is another one of the cat fights that we have in the group.
Your opinion here is really valuable.
We started this podcast by saying I've been absent in our group chat, and I just looked at it, and I've actually got the notifications turned off because there was a storm on this topic. So Tony,
you turned the notifications off because of that.
So Tony, sitting in his car smugly, just threw out the topic that
I'm just interested to know.
Trigger Chad so much. So there is, I'd say it's probably 50-50 for people that want to show line by line and want to just show a project summary. I kind of go somewhere in the middle. I don't show a breakdown of line by line hardware versus labor. We have a rate for this is hardware, supply, and installed. That's how much it is. And then, so it's line by line, but it includes the installation price. So it is line by line. It's not just a project summary, but it's not, this is how much the hardware is, this is how much the labor is, this is how much the hardware. So I just don't break it down.
So
that
for
way.
example, if it was install an electric strike, you would have the total price of the whole widget installed.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be $800.
Makes sense. Yeah.
$800 installed, right? That's the direction I've gone. It's flat rate pricing is probably the easiest way to think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, honestly, the back end of that, it's a lot about logistics too, because flat rate pricing, you have two different variables. So if our cost of labor goes up, our cost of living goes up, our cost of labor goes up, or what we sell our labor for goes up. But I'm purposely trying to get away from that posted hourly rate, because the hourly rate, I believe it is our job to teach our people to do things efficiently and well.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's fair that if we send out one of us, it's going to take 5 hours. That's right. Tony's going to show up 2 hours late and take 5 hours. And if I send someone
that knows, better job than you.
I'm going to send somebody that knows what they're doing, and it's going to take 2 hours. So I think that customer should pay the same amount regardless. And the only way to really do that is have that, unit. And I'm going to say to convert a paddle handle or a flip up to a deadbolt to a paddle handle, is going to take 30 minutes. So I'm going to build that out and budget it. Then the next year in the back end, we can increase our rates to cover the cost of labor, and it automatically updates that price.
Makes sense.
So it's partially the way it's presented, but it's also partially the operational cost, because as we know, price increases in our industry probably costs us $100,000 a year because it's so laborious. It takes a long time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's similar to what we do. We try to price things by opening that we're working on. So, like in an access control scenario, it's like this door is costing you $3,000. That door is costing you $3,500 because it's a longer wire run or whatever. But we try to break it down by each individual solution we're providing.
Okay. Yeah, and I know by door is popular too, and this is a whole other podcast we could talk about. And I can see Chad is biting his lip here, literally biting his lip, not talking about. But there's different ways to present that. There's different ways to do it. I like throwing out budgetary pricing and then figuring out the details. If we win, lots of people go through the painstaking material, every single inch of every single thing up front, and only win half. It's just there's different ways to do it. I think you get at the end the same way. I have my preference for sure. The only thing I am certain of is if you make it complicated and you highlight the worst parts about it, it is going to have a negative impact. Meaning, if somebody says, how much is this? And you say, well, it's a $70 service call. It's 35 minutes of labor. It's $7 a key. It's this. And then the customer says, so how much is it? Right? That's the biggest mistake. And then the second is, well, our hourly rate is $125 an hour. It's a $70 service call. It could take 2 hours. It might take 3. We just don't know. But these are the common mistakes that drive people crazy. And if you can simplify those areas, you'll have a lot more success.
So Chad, I know you're biting your lip over there, but I know you are a huge fan of breaking down every single thing you're selling. And you seem to use that as a competitive advantage. Explain that more.
Interesting question, Tony, that you would ask. I don't know that I would say that we use it as a competitive advantage, but I would say this. I'm a big fan of systems and processes. And so where I am actually probably more aligned with Lars on, I think this is going to cost $10,000, and then we figure out how to make it $10,000.
Shocking.
Like, I love that, and I live that. It is not something that is systematic with inside of our organization. And I would say probably argue it's probably difficult inside of a scaling organization, right? So, and Lars, I would imagine, would agree with me on a majority of that. It does have its challenges inside from a scalability side.
It is, and it's messier. It relies on knowledge rather than system. Yes.
Correct. So I have been a fan for, I would say the better part, what year is this, 2025? The better part of 10 years of transparent line item pricing. And so we put in for an estimate to go to a customer, and for an estimate to get approved and an estimate to be converted to a site visit and go through the process, it has to first start correctly. And that is putting on the labor and putting on the materials. And we've done all the hard work to do that. And so we show that. So at the beginning, at the top of every one of our proposals, it says the total project cost, $10,000, whatever. It's and it breaks it down: $5,000 in materials, $5,000 in labor, total $10,000. And then as you scroll down, it gives you every single door that we're going to be working on. So door 1 and every part and labor associated with door 1, door 2, every part and labor associated with door 2, and down the line. And the reason that we do that is because, one, we've already done the work. We have transparency across the presentation. And if you want to take it and shop it, take it and shop it. Like, we're going to be able to do what we said we were going to do. We've committed to how we're going to do it, and we've shown you the plan to get there. Yep. If you want to take it to somebody else and they want to cut it by 10%, great. Have them do it. You'll probably, and this isn't arrogant by any stretch, but you probably will come back to us at some point in time. And I have I've built a level of trust with you as a company, level of trust with you that we told you everything we were going to do. And we didn't try to hide behind any, just blanket number and just we'll figure it out type thing. So I do understand the concept of simplicity. Here's a dollar value. You're going to make the decision off the dollar value, whatever, like do that. But, I think that there has been, and a lot of customers are going to scroll down through it and look at all these parts and labors, and they're just going to say, I don't really care what you're using. And that's fine, but we've shown our work. We didn't go to a car dealership and they just went back in the office and scribbled around a bunch of stuff and then said, yeah, you can buy this car for $755 a month. We actually showed that the CarMax philosophy, here's how much the car costs, here's how much the taxes are, here's how much the financing charges are. It's completely transparent, and that's just, I think it builds trust with the consumer.
So, but on that car analogy, if you go buy your Tesla, you're not concerned about how much the screen costs that is in the Tesla. You're not concerned about how much the mirror costs. You're concerned about, what does this solution cost me, and what is it going to do for me? Like, you don't care about what the components took to build the system. So why?
You're talking about a car price versus like the financing charges, the amount that they're going to get for a trade-in.
Like, I don't think
options.
It's relevant to a consumer. To me, it's just noise and not simple to say, we're going to charge you $42 for this pack of screws, and this wire is going to cost you $700. To me, that just it complicates the quoting process of. It diverts the attention to, here's what we're charging you for all these small components, when their attention really should be on what is the reasonings I should buy from you? What is the solution you're providing me?
So, Tone, like, you have, all right, door number 4, you're putting access control on it. Do you just say door number 4, access control, $3,000? Or do you say that there's a reader, there's a
so we say door number 4, you're going to be getting a control panel, a reader. Like, we're going to show you the things that are included to make up the solution, but we don't tell you the price of each individual thing. We tell you the price of the door. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I think that is, and do you do that for like service requests in the field too? Somebody needs to rekey a lock.
Well, so they're not getting a quote. So the invoice, they still see the total pricing.
Right. Okay.
So, but like from a quote standpoint, it's irrelevant
and that was
what the reader costs. They're going to see it. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm just, It's irrelevancy, because it doesn't matter, like you said, Lars, you're hiding your profit in your materials versus your labor. It doesn't matter. There's no reason to give somebody to, like, sure, okay, yes, your labor rate might be more expensive than somebody else, but maybe your parts are less. At the end of the day, what matters is, what does it cost me to get access control on this door? The price of the individual components is just irrelevant, in my opinion.
And I think, there's a little different sales strategy here between what you guys are like. Chad is obviously relationship selling. He is selling the package and more the feeling of, he won't sell something without having the ability to have a conversation. Like, he has to be able to talk through it and explain the value. I think you're talking more about, the solution itself rather than. So I can understand, and I know you two, and I know why. Like, it would be very hard for Chad to submit a price without talking to somebody first, because he'd be like, I got to understand why and what.
I don't disagree with him one bit there. Like, I would never go out to sell someone without talking to them. I absolutely would be selling the benefits, and like, that's actually why I don't think showing price is important, because I want to focus on what is that extra value add we're giving. I want to build that relationship, and I want to build that relationship, and the price is irrelevant because of that relationship.
Yeah, and I would say this, because I was the driver around pricing transparency inside our organization. So we previous to 10 years ago gave a lump sum and did not give price breakdown.
Yeah,
I was the driver of that because there were several customers that we were moving into conversation with that would come back and ask for the breakdown because they needed it for and in the same point, when we submitted an invoice to them, to Tony, what you just said, we gave them a breakdown afterwards. Yeah. So it was like, up to this point, we have to keep everything hidden, and we're not going to tell you exactly what we're using. But when we invoice you, then we'll tell you what we used. And I was just like, what does it matter? The worst thing that happens is somebody takes our bid line for line and goes and takes it, because that's the debate that everybody will have. Yep. And people that are listening to this, that's the first thing. Give people products and
where are you, Ken? You're out there.
Part numbers, and they're just going to go.
That's not the debate that I'm saying. Like, I don't care if they price shop us. I could care less about that. I'm just saying it's noise. It's not simple.
Well, I guess it's all in the presentation. Again, from ours, there's a total and summary at the top, breakdown as you go through. So you have kind of the best of both worlds. I just has always been a big fan of, one, it forces our system to make sure that it is selected to correct to start with, and that we're not figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
So we're doing it right all along the way. And then secondly, if somebody is going to go try to undercut us on a flat rate or a part for a couple of bucks, then more power to them.
You're saying you didn't do a good enough job. If
we did
to save $10.
Yep.
Yeah, and I get that too, and I think that's just a different philosophy. I guess one more thought I had on this is, just as a consumer myself, when I get that lump sum, my spidey senses tingle. I don't like that. It feels to me like someone's trying to pull something over. There's something fishy,
or they just made up something. Yeah.
It just I'm not. I don't know why. That's just my personal consumer feeling. And I might be one of those people that looks at it and price shops it and trying to figure out. But I think if we're getting to that point where somebody is going to go line by line and price shop it, you probably haven't done a good enough job validating your niche, your competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what I started by saying, I know that this is 50-50, because we have some guys that will not show line items and we have some guys that won't. I tried to standardize it. I started a mutiny. So I backed away from it and said, okay, I'm not going to die on this hill right now.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I would imagine at a point it's going to be hard to make that shift. We fortunately made it a long time ago where we didn't have to make a major change. But I would say that when we changed over the philosophy of line items, I I'm not going to say it's because of the line items by any stretch. I wouldn't go that far, but it has not slowed or stopped our growth or caused us to have to change our pricing.
I think your argument. So from talking to you about this in the past, I feel like your main thing is you don't want to have multiple options of how somebody quotes something, and you know that there are some customers that need line item detail. So therefore, you're saying, because some customers need line item detail, I'm going to provide all customers line item detail. I don't want to complicate our quoting process.
It's more about scalability, but yeah, I think that's part of it.
That's what I think.
That's an element.
Because otherwise,
that's an element. That's not. That's an element, but that's not the overall reason. But yes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, I would never have a system where you could have 4 or 5 different versions of a quote.
I'm fully aware you would not.
That would be complicated. And
there is the giant poke right back to Tony. Like,
which
if you aren't watching this on
Lars
YouTube,
has the same setup. He literally just said, "I'm giving all of my team the option to quote it how they want."
All of our team now. This is a difference between a sales team and an estimating team.
Ooh.
See, I think the way I do things, I'm a sales person. My team and our industry at large are estimators. What do you want? I'll tell you how much it is.
Ooh.
And there is a very different, for a salesperson, a relationship salesperson, by the time they get the price doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Agreed. So then it's 100%. The price is irrelevant.
Right.
So it's again,
I just am a big fan of showing your work. I guess that's the way that I would try to say it. I'm a big fan of showing your work.
I feel that it is probably, I would tend to agree more with Chad. Just from the consumer side, I would think it's more of a trust forward way of doing it. And just because I think the lump sum at the bottom is, to me, says like it's shady. It's like there's something we're trying to hide in there.
I can see that. Like the trust piece, there's an angle there.
Now, I know we're a little long in the tooth here, and we're probably going to have to address
I think this is like maybe 4 episodes.
This could be. We're on, again, 5 tips and tricks of value versus. But I did think of one more that I'm going to throw out there, and I apologize to anyone that. I mean,
well, this is the end of episode part 2 of this conversation. I would imagine.
And let's be honest, I don't think anyone's listened to this anymore. I think they've had enough.
They might be here for the truck.
Listen, if you're to this point, they're here, they're just watching the truck in the background. If you're still to this, send us a message and let us know you made it to the end.
Yeah, you're getting an Unlock Podcast shirt.
Yeah,
Tony's going to buy it and ship it to you,
and he's not going to tell you how much you paid for it.
If you,
still you do not ask for pricing detail yourself when you buy things.
Oh, that's great.
It's it.
Okay, Lars literally is dying. He's near death.
Man. Oh, you'll just get a lump sum at the bottom. Oh boy. That was bang on. But if you are still listening, send us a message. You'll get a little gift. Send us your address, whatever you'd like. We'll send you something. The last one, my number 5 here, is a trick that I use all the time, and you guys probably do a version of it yourself, but we'll send a quote and okay, here's the price, and they'll say, oh, can you do better on the price, right? Can you make it cheaper? That's it. That's them doing their job. Say, yep, absolutely. Every time my answer is yep, absolutely. How about this door? Do you want to, let's not do access control on that door. Say, oh, well, we need that door. Oh, okay, that won't work. How about?
So
let's get less
to your customers too.
We'll get less. Saying. Let's get less fobs. Oh well, we need all those fobs. Okay, that won't work either. Maybe.
So you look for things to eliminate off the quote versus just reducing. Because I think that's the easy thing, right? Is just go in there and slap a discount on some stuff or whatever.
10% off. Yep. And that is the common way to do it. But I just changed the conversation, and I did it, very recently on a large project. Like, okay, is this the best price you can do? Can you go lower? And I was like, yeah, actually, why don't we go from 30 mailboxes to 15? Like, oh, we need 30. It's like, oh, okay. Well, it's like, so what would you like to get rid of? Because we can reduce this cost. What's the budget you're looking to get to?
Yeah.
We can reduce it. Just let me know. And 99 times, we just end up right where we started. And okay.
And you have the line items there already broken down so they can see where that value is going to change. I can tell you this, that was a little bit smug. Eric had a similar, one of our sales guys, for those listening, he had a similar conversation recently with a customer. They said, hey, we've got this camera system. It was a quoted camera system. Let's just say it was 10 cameras. I don't remember how many it was, and it doesn't matter. But they came back and said, we need to get this price down a little bit. And he said, okay, which cameras do you want to eliminate? Because where we're at, I mean, like I can't just start giving you stuff for free.
This is the price.
This is how much it is. And
this is the price.
And I think the big tip there is understanding what you're selling actually does have value. And I think the moment, this is one non-negotiable in our organization that we established years, probably in that same 10 years ago, is labor is not negotiable. Mm-hmm. When we start to think about labor as a negotiable, then we're devaluing the people that work for us and the quality of work that they can accomplish. Mm-hmm. Now, we may need to give up margin on some products here and there, and if it starts getting into that, but labor is a non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. And so that when we bring that over, and then when we bring value over into the products that we sell, okay, which cameras do you want to eliminate? Which areas do you not care to see? Mm-hmm. One, or do we need to reduce the quality of some of these cameras? Yeah. And when you have that conversation, well, now you're shifting. It's the same thing with locks or door hardware. Yep. Okay, you can't spend.
You don't need restricted keys. Okay, sure,
correct. Do we need to downgrade the quality? Downgrade the quality of the hardware.
You're cool. Somebody can get a copy of these.
Yeah,
that if you're fine with that, no problem.
Yeah, and how you present that can be. Could be smug, or it could be more
maybe a little less flippant than I'm implying, but I think you get my point.
Correct. It's effectively sharing, this is why the value is here, and we can change it to a different type of a product, but you are going to lose some of the things. Now, the question I think that would come back to is, what if somebody else is selling the quote-unquote exact same product for less? And that's a whole conversation around, well, let them sell it for less. For a period of time, because then they'll probably not do it very often. Like there's no way they can do that long term.
Okay, I think we've done it. I think we've got it all out. Episode 43 and 44 have been a little sparky.
Is Tony's face red because he's angry or because he's hot in his car?
He's not in the sauna.
Because it's sunburned because from golfing.
He's not in the sauna, but he has been sitting in his Tesla for the last hour, sweating like a block of cheese.
Oh, no, it's 70, 68 degrees in here.
That's good. Very accurate, Tony. Chad, do you want to land this plane for us here?
Well, we don't know exactly what episode number this is that we finished with, but what we can say is that it is available with a blog on our website, unlockpodcast.com. And we appreciate all the responses that we get. Every week that we send an episode out, we get emails, text messages, and LinkedIn messages from folks, and even in-person conversations to let us know what they took away from it, and potentially other topics or conversations they'd like to discuss. I am very intrigued around the feedback around this particular topic, because I know it can be a hot button topic. It can be a bit controversial at times around how you go to market, how you differentiate yourself. A lot of people have opinions on it. So I'd love to get some feedback on that. LinkedIn is a great spot. You can get all of us there on LinkedIn. You can contact us on a lot of social media. And then obviously on our website, there's ways to communicate with us there as well. So unlockedpodcast.com. We have a brand new episode every Thursday morning-ish around 6:30 or so East Coast time, because that's the most important time zone. And we will see you next Thursday morning for another fantastic episode of the Unlocked Podcast.